After an age of innovation and heroes, destruction and evil came out to play. Unrestrained by the shackles of moderation, they unleashed horror on unsuspecting minds. Giant monsters on a quest to reclaim their Earth, starting with Sunday morning kids television. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of Inhumanoids. I've walked through the wine aisle at my local grocery store a million times, and I have to be honest, it all looks the same to me. How are you supposed to decide which one is right for you? Your favorite picture on the label? Try each one until you find the right balance of price and flavor? How long is that gonna take? Bright Cellars has already done the research for you. They select from the best wines all over the world, personalized for you and your palate. They have a quick 7-question quiz that matches you to the flavors you'll like best. Over 100 varieties sourced from nearly a dozen countries delivered to your front door. Whether you're having friends over for a cookout, cashing out some vacation time, or looking for something new for your latest episode of your drinking-themed podcast or YouTube channel, Bright Cellars can match you with the right wine for the occasion, even if that occasion is as simple as a Friday night with no plans. Bright Cellars introduces surprise, discovery, and diversity to your menu without wasting time and money on trips to the store, blind purchases, or the opinions of people who think good wine can't come in a bottle with a picture of a dog on it. Bright Cellars is offering our viewers a special offer. Get your first 6-bottle box, a $150 value, for just $60. Click the link in the description to take the quiz and get started. And thank you again to Bright Cellars. We have previously covered Inhumanoids back in October of 2018. We want to revisit it to tell a more comprehensive story and include all of the developments that have transpired since, a different story from a different perspective about some of your favorite horrible nightmare monsters. Inhumanoids is a 13-episode animated series that originally ran from September to December of 1986. Produced by the same people responsible for G.I. Joe and Transformers, it failed to meet their high standards, instead marking an end to an unprecedented chapter of kids' television history and gratuitous merchandise cross-promotion. The Inhumanoids are the bad guys, giant monsters from long before ancient times, waging a never-ending war against Earth's elemental protectors, determined to dominate the planet from the inside and the outside. It's us, the humans, who unleashed the horrors on ourselves. Through our own ignorance of the world and our disrespect for the natural protections already in place, doomed by curiosity and greed. When the government-funded research team EarthCore discovered what they thought was a preserved dinosaur carcass, they put it on public display. That was the signal for a wealthy, power-hungry man named Blackthorn Shore to unleash a second horrible abomination from below. He drilled into an underground chamber, freeing Tendril, an organic mass of vines and rage capable of cloning itself from clippings of its own body. Tendril carved a path directly to the EarthCore presentation and cracked open the amber prison, freeing Decompose, an undead monster with the power to convert living creatures into his zombie followers. Blackthorn discovered the secrets of the Inhumanoids, and he's prepared to take control of them using his real power, wealth. He pays a senator for access to the secret designs for the EarthCore highly advanced suits so he can make his own, and furthermore, he pressures the senator to cut off EarthCore's funding altogether. But he never planned for his equally wealthy sister Sandra Shore to take over funding of EarthCore. Herman Herc Armstrong leads the team composed of Digger, Augur, and Liquidator. They are joined by Earth's elemental protectors, the Redwoods, the Granites, and Magnacore as humanity's only hope in the battle against the Inhumanoids. Griffin Bacall Advertising was founded in 1978 by Tom Griffin and Joe Bacall. 2 years later, in 1980, they established Sunbow Entertainment as an animation production studio. After the success of television commercials they produced for one of their biggest clients, Hasbro. Those commercials evolved into the production of daily, syndicated animated series. Griffin Bacall and Sunbow Entertainment partnered with Hasbro, Marvel Productions, and Toei Animation on G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, and the Transformers beginning in 1983 and 1984, respectively. Still commercials, technically, but now with more story and more characters to sell. That partnership was responsible for driving sales of G.I. Joe and Transformers well over the $100 million mark and set a new level of expectations for comparable brands going forward. Hasbro earnestly began developing the next batch of toy concepts that could be promoted in the same manner. One of those concepts was called Force of Light, created by Marvel Comics writer Tom DeFalco in early 1985. To protect the Earth from a celestial storm of meteors, Dr. Charles Gibson, in cooperation with the United Nations, advises the construction and placement of laser-powered deflection shields. The shields work, but the meteors that aren't deflected crash deep into the Earth's core, and according to Dr. Jason Bright and his assistant Dr. Sandra Gibson, the meteors are made of an unknown alien substance that causes nearby boulders to mutate into creatures. Those creatures are trying to sabotage the laser shields, and more meteors are on the way, so Jason Bright quickly assembles a crack team of adventurers to track them to the source. Wielding new light helmets that allow them to see in the dark, they travel deep into the Earth's core and find a vast, hidden civilization populated with all manner of non-human but intelligent life. Further down, the cold, harsh realm of darkness inhabited by mutors, a new life form created by the alien meteors led by Magnos the Molten Monster, who wants to wipe out humankind once and for all with the help of his own monster squad. Force of Light evolved into the Inhumanoids after G.I. Joe and Transformers writer Flint Dille was brought in to further develop the project. It was one of several concepts slated for a new 22-minute block of animation called Super Sunday, designed to economically audition new series before committing full resources. Super Sunday, sometimes known as Super Saturday, ran from June to October of 1985. It featured Inhumanoids along with Jem and the Holograms, Bigfoot and the Muscle Machines, and robotics. Each series was constructed as 15 6- to 7-minute weekly shorts, an innovative approach to introduce an assortment of new shows and on a day of the week that offered less competition. The idea was that even if a show didn't get picked up for a series, they would be edited into a 90-minute movie that could be released on home video. Bigfoot and robotics did exactly that, but Jem and the Inhumanoids were promoted to full series. 2 different series, can you imagine? Several very familiar voices crossed over from other Sunbow series. Earth Core leader Herc Armstrong and Inhumanoid Slither were played by Neil Ross, who was also Shipwreck on G.I. Joe and Springer on Transformers. Augur was played by Michael Bell, who was also Duke on G.I. Joe and Prowl, Sideswipe, and Swoop on Transformers. Chris Latta, known for voicing Cobra Commander on G.I. Joe and Starscream on Transformers, provided most of the screaming on Inhumanoids as both Decompose and Tendril.
Decompose traps Liquidator, but the mighty Granites, friends of the Earth Core, attack the evil Inhumanoid, forcing him back into the Earth.
Inhumanoids! Inhumanoids! The evil that lies within!
Your friends can't help you now, but the leader of the Granites can! Grandma! Your evil ways are over! Escape from the Terror Scout! Thanks, Grandma!
Granok, other figures and vehicles sold separately from Hasbro.
Inhumanoids!
Like G.I. Joe and Transformers, Inhumanoids was developed to promote a line of toys. They hit store shelves between the premiere of Super Sunday in June of 1985 and the start of the regular season in September of 1986. Figures similar to G.I. Joe, with the giant monsters serving as not only giant monsters, but also playsets according to Hasbro research. Play features ranged from squirting water to glow-in-the-dark. Earth Core members had removable helmets. Granok transformed into a pile of rocks. Redlin, Red Sun, and Redwood all had telescoping growth action. The real stars of the line were the giant 14-inch monsters, Trap the heroes in Decompose's ribcage, use Tendril's bendy tendrils to pick up the Earth Core members, or toss them across the room, or crush the heroes in Metlar's super grip claws. In an oversaturated action figure market, Inhumanoids toys, the monsters especially, stood out on the shelves. Hasbro saw Inhumanoids as a competitor to Mattel's Masters of the Universe, a line which was typically aimed at kids 5 to 8 years old, younger than their target audience for G.I. Joe and Transformers. Super Sunday was created to try out different shows to see which ones were worth investing in. The results could be seen not only in ratings, but more importantly in the toy sales. Despite the darker subject matter, the horror overtones and violence of the Sunday shorts, Inhumanoids initially sold well enough through 1985 for Hasbro to order a full season for the fall of 1986. Unfortunately, those toy sales didn't maintain. G.I. Joe and Transformers set such a high bar that, according to Inhumanoids creator Flint Dille, anything that didn't reach $100 million in sales was canceled. Dille has said that the show initially did just fine. The toy line did $60 million the first year, which was, in any real universe, but because Hasbro was doing so well, even $80 million in sales was seen as a failure. A serious disappointment, says Dille, but that's just where the world was then. In the time between its run on Super Sunday, sometimes known as Super Saturday, and its regular season premiere just 9 months later, Inhumanoids, the toy line, was canceled. As the saying goes, the show must go on. Still committed to an additional 8 episodes to finish out the 13-episode order, Hasbro and Sunbow let Dille and the writers do what they wanted to with the weekly animated series virtually unsupervised, free of the normal degree of editorial oversight, resulting in a show unlike anything broadcast for kids' television before or since. Inhumanoids began airing as a regular series in September of 1986. The 15 short chapters from these Super Sunday segments were edited into 5 22-minute episodes and rerun to kick off an additional 8 new episodes, resulting in a total of 13 through December. Where Transformers and G.I. Joe were mostly interchangeable in their viewing order, Inhumanoids was written as a continuing narrative with plots and relationships developing over the course of several episodes, utilizing storytelling devices that were normally reserved for much more mature television series. Inhumanoids leaned into graphic content including death, mutation, mutilation, mass destruction, constant screaming, zombies, skeletons, toxic waste, corruption, socioeconomic and political commentary, borderline adult language.
Yeah, baby. Let's get down.
Flint Dille described Inhumanoids as, quote, by far the weirdest, most violent, most mother-unfriendly thing we ever did. Inhumanoids was just, it was what it was. It was a horror show, unabashedly so. Further emphasizing the idea that Hasbro intended for Inhumanoids to be a line for younger kids, younger than G.I. Joe and Transformers fans, the 4-issue Marvel Comics series was produced through their Star Comics imprint, alongside characters like the Care Bears, Ewoks, Top Dog, and Peter Porker the Spectacular Spider-Ham. Don't laugh at that, it's serious.
Which one, Top Dog?
All of it.
I
don't even know which one Top Dog is. Is he the one with the hat?
I don't know. I don't think so.
What's the top mean then?
When you say Top Dog, I think of Rude Dog.
Oh, Top Dog and the Dweebs?
Yeah.
That's a different show. If you missed the series the first time around, Inhumanoids the movie was released on VHS, as were several of the regular series episodes. Some of the episodes were released on DVD in the US. The entire series was released on DVD in the UK. It is not officially available to stream anywhere online, but definitely here in its entirety on YouTube. Inhumanoids kind of returned in 2011 as part of Unit E, Hasbro's what-if pitch for a shared universe including G.I. Joe, Transformers, Mask, Action Man, Gem, Stretch Armstrong, Micronauts, Candyland, Battleship Centurions, Dungeons and Dragons, and more. Instead of Inhumanoids, a very similar concept called Primordia is included. Whether the creatures are friend or foe is not yet known, but they are immensely powerful and they are intelligent with a highly developed beast intellect. That particular interpretation of a shared Hasbro universe never materialized, instead existing as a one-off portfolio of pitches in a New York Comic Con exclusive single issue. Just a few years later, they were this close to being included in the G.I. Joe universe in 2016 as part of IDW's continuity of Hasbro Comics. Writer Aubrey Stitterson intended to use the Inhumanoids as Earth's natural defense mechanism in a story that was already bringing together characters from Transformers, G.I. Joe, and ROM, and would eventually bring in Mask, Action Man, Micronauts, and Visionaries as well. Despite approving the storyline, Hasbro realized that, over time, the trademark for Inhumanoids had lapsed and they technically no longer own the property or any of the characters.
Damn, we're in a tight spot.
Instead, Stitterson had to get creative, swapping out the Inhumanoids for the Fatal Fluffies, the gremlin-like monsters created by Cobra during the Pyramid of Darkness miniseries in 1985.
Everybody's so creative!
That loss of ownership would also explain IDW's renaming of core Inhumanoids character to Hank Armstrong from Herc Armstrong, and new adventure team members Dodger, Scalpel, Mixmaster, and Arsenal, with gear approximating that of the original Earth core. It is possible that the growing Marvel Cinematic Universe also played a role, as the Inhumans television series was already in development, and Marvel would have wanted to avoid any confusion between the two brands. It is also possible that Hasbro had no legal recourse, as the trademark was purchased in 2014 by Brian Flynn. Hard to say what Inhumanoids might have become if the animated series made it to a second season. Dille wrote scripts for a few season 2 episodes, and there are several designs that can be found online for toys that were never made. It's possible that the connections between the Sunbow shows might have been made even more apparent. While Hasbro never officially considered G.I. Joe, Transformers, Gem, and Inhumanoids as taking place in the same world, there is one crossover character who suggests that maybe they did. Hector Ramirez, a tabloid journalist modeled after Geraldo Rivera, appeared in all 4 shows, voiced by Neil Ross each time. On top of that, a late series addition to the Earth Corps, Saberjet, was revealed to be Brad Armbruster, also known as Ace from G.I. Joe, Dille stating that his Earth Corps suit was made from his crashed fighter jet. There are a few shows that have taken a similar route to broadcast television. Inhumanoids earned their spot in weekly syndication by proving they could move merchandise on the shelves in the real world. They lost their chance in the pantheon of great 80s series not because of their outrageous content, but because they were competing against unrealistic expectations. A bar set too high by 2 once-in-a-lifetime brands hitting the market at the same time, a target demographic too young to appreciate what it was sold, a production incapable of overcoming the decisions made before they were even able to begin to showcase the evil that lies within. Everybody relax now. This is the easy part. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are, if you're in the position to help the channel grow. If you would like early access to the videos ad-free, as well as behind-the-scenes features, sneak peeks at upcoming projects, and exclusive monthly podcast about the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy and let us know in the comments down below if you were in the target demographic for Inhumanoids when it hit Super Sundays. That's 5 to 8-year-olds, just like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, or Were you slightly older than that, excited that a cartoon was finally being made for your refined taste? A 14-year-old who liked to sneak into movies like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, and even better, airing on Sundays when there was absolutely nothing else on TV to watch. An absolute dead zone. That is the evil that lies within.
Cut.